Welcome to the Dream Plan Start Grow Show, where the goal is to provide you tips and tools to create and execute your business plan for success. Good afternoon. I wanted to jump on today and do a little bit different episode. I wanted to talk a little bit about how working on myself has really helped my business, because the two really go hand in hand. And I think the easiest way to start is to really share with you this photo of the Atlanta interchange. This is downtown Atlanta. So if anyone's ever driven through downtown Atlanta, drop it in the chat if you have, on whatever platform you're watching. If you've driven through that, you know it can be disastrous. It can be a maze. If you don't know where you're going and you don't know what that straight road is for you and the direction you need to go, it's tough. I remember when I first drove through it, I was always told, don't bypass Atlanta, go through it. Okay. I would go through it, but I'd always set my timing right because I knew rush hour. I certainly didn't want to go through at rush hour. That's a nightmare in downtown Atlanta. But I knew I needed to go through and just keep following the straight road for me. I knew what path I needed to hit. And I use that as a metaphor for life and business, because so often when we are working on our business, and I'm going to liken this to business, but you can liken a lot of this to life, we hit that mess, whatever it is. And if we're not clear on where we're going, it's like we've hit the Atlanta interchange and we don't know which road we want to take. And at one point, that Atlanta interchange is like 8 lanes wide. I mean, I remember counting. I'm like, how many lanes is this? I feel like I'm in the middle of it, and I feel a little claustrophobic with all these cars around me. And it's 8 lanes wide, and you're driving through it, and you have to get through it. But as long as you know what road you're taking and you find that straight path, it's okay. But if you're not careful in Atlanta, you can endanger yourself, you can endanger someone else because you're trying to, go across 8 lanes to get to this. Oh, you're like, oh, there's a road I need to take over there. No, you got to plan this out. So you need to build that straight road, and you need to figure out what that is. And it takes tenacity. So as a business owner, it really takes tenacity, because things in business and in life can be challenging and overwhelming. I want to share a little bit about my company history and how it got started. So I started this company a long time, almost 10 years ago, with a business partner. We had a lot of hopes and dreams. She had owned a company before, so she was a great partner to start with, to start a company with, because she knew all that aspect of it. I had kind of started a company before, but it was, kind of I call it a company junior, baby company. So we started the company together and started working together, and it was a consulting company initially. And we realized pretty quickly, we were 50-50 partners. We realized pretty quickly that maybe we weren't the best business partners, and we needed to kind of rethink this situation. We had different aspirations of where we wanted the company to go philosophically, directionally, all that type of thing. And you really have to, I work in the business coaching realm now, where I really talk to people about, if you're going to take on a business partner, you really have to figure those pieces out prior to going into business with someone, especially if you're a 50-50 partner. That can be tough. So she left the company in 2014. And we worked everything out, that it was an amicable split. But when she decided to leave, I realized that she was a closer for the company. I was the one out networking, and essentially marketing. She was marketing some online, but she was the one that was closing the business. And she was really good at it. She is really good at it. I had to figure out, if I wanted to eat and keep the business alive, how to do that. So it was facing that Atlanta interchange. It was facing all this mesh of roads coming all together and trying to figure out which path do I take? But I had to figure that out in order to keep the company alive and for the company to survive. Fast forward a couple more years later, Jack, who is my fiance and who he and I work together in the company, he's my video producer and sound engineer. He and I get together. First, personally, he owns a video production company. I own a consulting and marketing company at the time. So I'd kind of expanded it a little bit more to two pieces. So we talk about, like, do we need two companies? Once we became more serious, should we fold into one? So eventually he closes his company and comes under my umbrella. And that's worked out really well. We're pretty good in business overall together. But what they don't tell you in business school all the time is as your revenues increase, guess what? Your company expenses increase, which makes sense, right? One goes up, one. So when he came under my umbrella, now we had 2 W-2 employees plus contractors. Then we got a studio here in Delray, and we continued to, add additional expenses, which was good because we were growing. But again, each month you would look at that and be like, okay, we need to bring in X amount of dollars to make this happen. And each month we have several clients that are monthly clients. So they've been with us for a long time, and that's great. But then there's always that part and that portion that has to come in each month. So you would get to the beginning of the month, you'd be like, okay, now here's all the bills. And I like to know what needs to happen and not just rely on, let's hope it all goes through. But so I would look at that and it'd be like you're going through this downtown Atlanta all over again. And you're like, oh my God, where am I going now? So it's really, how do I build that straight road? So how do I know exactly the path I need to take in order to get where I want to go? And the process can really be an emotional roller coaster. Entrepreneurship, and I love it, don't get me wrong. But again, what they don't tell you in business school, and I got my master's in business. Now, I didn't take entrepreneurship classes, so maybe they do tell you that in that side. But what they don't tell you is they don't tell you, hey, there's some up and down here. There's some ups and downs, especially when you're kind of doing a lot of the tasks until you're big enough to hire people to do them. So it's finding that straight road. It's not second guessing yourself. It's figuring out what your path or your company's path needs to look like and then staying with it. That way, when these offshoots, on the picture the Atlanta highway again, and you're going this way, and then all of a sudden there's a road coming off over here, and there's a road coming off over here, that you want to keep going straight. So those little shiny things, which often occur in business, aren't going to bother you. When I needed to create that straight road, I really needed to work on myself in order to do that. Another thing they don't really tell you in business school is business is a mental game just as much as it is you need to know what the heck you're doing game. So clearly you need to know what you're doing, but it's also a mental game. And I liken it to sports. So in sports, they tell me, I always grew up in, it's 80% mental, 20%, talent and what you're putting into it. And it is, because ultimately when I got on a tennis court and played a match, I might have more talent than the other person, but if I'm not mentally as strong as the other person, guess what? I might lose that match. So it is a mental game as well. And so what I needed to do in the world of business was number one, had to build more confidence. My former business partner, the one I started this company with, was an extrovert. I was always the introvert. And she was the extrovert. she could command a room. She could walk into a room and command it immediately, which was awesome. She had great quality. I felt overshadowed by that a lot of times because I wasn't that person, but I appreciate my gifts now. I appreciate that I am who I am now. And it doesn't make one right, one wrong. It just makes it, each of us have our own gifts and we have to build confidence in our own gifts. Number 2, I needed to overcome insecurities. And what I mean by that is, think when we grow up, we start getting insecurities in our life, kind of from childhood all the way up. We start having insecurities that build up. And it could be whatever the insecurity is. Maybe someone made fun of you when you were singing and now you have an insecurity around singing. Or maybe someone made fun of you in a classroom when you were sharing something in class and now you don't want to speak in public. You know, these little things that happen in our childhood can continue moving forward today. So I needed to work on those insecurities and improve upon them in order to move forward in the business world. And that's exactly what I did. So for example, I would never have done public speaking on a video camera like this. No. When I joined Toastmasters almost a couple of years ago, that has really helped me move forward and helped me overcome that specific insecurity. So you have to really be truthful about yourself and look into what you do well and celebrate those. Look at some of the things that maybe you struggle with and figure out how you can improve upon those. Number 3, I needed to seek solutions instead of focus on the problems. I mean, how many times in our lives, in a business especially, does a problem arise, whatever that problem is? And it happens and you focus on the problem. Like it's just going through your head, oh, well, what if I can't do this? Like here's the problem. Maybe you don't have enough money in your account to pay some bill, whatever that is. And you keep focusing on that. Oh my God, I don't have enough money. I don't have this, but instead of focusing on that, because what does that do? That brings more problems because that little voice in your head starts chattering. Oh, you thought you could start a business. Now you don't have any money in your account. Like, whoa, who are you kidding? The little voice in your head starts chattering and then you don't do well with it. Instead of, oh, you know what? I have these bills coming up. We need to make sure we're getting enough clients in and like finding what that solution is. Like, oh, here's the solution. So really focus on the solution and not the problem, because solutions will get you more solutions. Problems will get you more problems. And number 4, and this is for me was probably the most instrumental, but it could only happen after number 1, 2, and 3. And that was building faith in the process. And what I mean by that is, once I had built my confidence up, once I had started overcoming insecurities, once I had really focused on seeking solutions instead of focusing on the problems, that faith stepped in where I know that this is just a blip in the road. So I talked about the Atlanta interchange and when you go through there, how you have to really focus on that straight road so you don't get sidetracked with all these other offshoots. Same thing with this. I needed to build faith in the process that this too shall pass. So maybe this is like a small pothole in the road versus, oh, I got to go over here because this is the next avenue over here, or I got to go over here. No, build faith in the process where you're still calm when you go through downtown Atlanta or when you hit that big problem. You're still perfectly calm because this too shall pass. In the grand scheme of life, this is something so small. You just have the confidence in yourself to solve the problem. You don't really have any insecurities about it, and you're focusing on the solutions. So today I want to encourage anyone listening to this to think about what happens when you get to that downtown Atlanta interchange, or what happens when that big problem comes up, whatever that big problem is. How do you overcome it in business? How do you stay on track? How do you build your straight road? And I encourage you to really look at those 4 steps. Number 1, look at where you don't have confidence in your life. Is there something in your life where you don't have that confidence? Number 2, are there still insecurities in your life that rear their ugly head over and over? Is there one that you can focus, not focus on, but really work on eliminating? And how would you seek the solution to eliminate it? So I gave the example earlier that I decided I wanted to do more speaking. And originally I was like, I'll just do the audio podcast. But then I was like, no, I want to do the video podcast. For me to do that, I had to overcome my own insecurity of public speaking and join Toastmasters. So how do I, so I eliminated the insecurity because I sought the solution. And now, even though I still get knots doing speaking, I think if you talk to any public speaker, most of them do, I have that faith that everything's going to work out because I've done the work to get to this point. And then seek the solutions over the problems. Really seek, once that problem hits, you've got to focus on the solutions. Like, it really drives me nuts when people continue to focus on the problems. And I have to really step back because I used to be that person. I used to be that person that would focus on the problems too much, and then more problems would arise. And you're like, dang it. So now I really focus on the solution. How do I get from point A to point B on that straight road instead of like going around like a Tasmanian devil around in a circle or whatever it is and not getting anywhere? And finally, building the faith. Again, this isn't religious. And for me, it's not religious. Maybe it is for you. Use it however you will, but building the faith that this too shall pass. Whatever your problem is like a small problem in the grand scheme of your life and then the greater lives of everyone else. But this too shall pass. So how do you continue moving forward and knowing that you've done the work and you continue to do the work, which helps your business level up? I honestly believe that when you work on yourself and you continue to work on yourself, your business levels up with you. I don't think it's one versus the other. I think the two go hand in hand. And I encourage anyone that wants to start a business or is newer in business to really look at that. Because I suspect the ones that have made that 5-year mark or the 10-year mark have been those people that have continued to work on themselves and level up themselves personally, which helps level yourself up professionally over and over and over again. I hope you enjoyed a little bit different format today of this video, and I'm actually going to use this on my podcast as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment. Let me know how you enjoyed it. I'd love to do some more of what people are looking for and how they can elevate their business lives and personal lives as well. If you have any questions, check out my website, theallisonturner.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. I am launching a free webinar soon, so check it out, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Dream, Plan, Start, Grow podcast with Allison Turner. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. Join our community by joining the Dream, Plan, Start, Grow Facebook group, or for more resources, go to my website, theallisonturner.com.